What's up, good peoples, and welcome to another episode on Keeping It in Context. And today we're going to be looking at two scriptures that are often taken straight out of context. All right, first scripture is found in Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 7. Latter portion says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." Now, this verse is often used to suggest that whatever a person is thinking in his heart or in his mind, that is who he is, or that is who he will become. Now, although this has some truth to it, that if you think long enough about some things, or if you keep thinking that you are something, you are going to demonstrate that by how you live. But if you really read this scripture in its proper context, this is not what the writer meant. If you just go back a verse, you will notice what the writer meant behind this statement. In verse 6, in the King James Version, it says, "Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire his dainties. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee." Let's look at it in the New Living Translation. It says in verse 6, "Don't eat with people who are stingy. Don't desire their delicacies. They are always thinking about how much it costs. Eat and drink, they say, but they don't mean it." So as you can see, this verse is not suggesting that whatever you're thinking, you will become that, but it is really speaking of a person who is saying one thing out of their mouth, but their heart is in a completely different place. And that these types of people, these kinds of individuals, are to be kept at a distance. Now, again, are you going to be thinking a certain way, and is that going to affect how you live your life? Yes. If you always think that you are a failure, then yes, you're going to have troubles and challenges trying to succeed, because you've already put that self identity on you, that you are a failure. But in this particular scripture, this is not the intent of the scripture. It's actually for a completely different subject. The next verse is in John chapter 12, verse 32. Latter portion says, "And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me." Now, I'm sure many of you have heard a preacher, or you've heard a worship leader say something like this, like, Jesus said, "If I be lifted up from the earth, I'll draw all men unto me." And so let us worship Jesus. Let's lift him up as high and as loud as we can, because when we lift him up, that's when we're going to draw nearer to Jesus. Yeah. Some people even suggest that our worship to Jesus, or the more that we say his name in worship, it's going to supernaturally draw sinners to Christ. Now, although it sounds real good, and although it sounds real spiritual and deep, this is not what this scripture is meaning. In John chapter 12 and verse 32, it says, "And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. This he said, signifying what death he should die." Now, it is true that Jesus is talking about drawing sinners to him in salvation, but it is not our worship or how much we lift him up by saying his name that does the drawing. It's actually his crucifixion. And now that he has been crucified and has been raised from the dead, now we can be drawn to him and have faith in the finished work of the cross. Now, of course, if you were looking at the scriptures the wrong way, hopefully this video would have been a blessing to help you to see it in its proper context. And so that's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment if you would like. Until next time, as you are going to study your word, always remind yourself that I gotta keep everything in context.